So, three things happened last week. First of all, my tech portfolio is now bleeding and redder than my eyes after an 8-hour-long coding session. Second of all, everybody is now suddenly an AI expert overnight. And last but not least, Silicon Valley is losing its mind around something called DeepSeek. But before you buy into all this new hype around the new revolutionary AI model from China, let's talk about what's really going on here. DeepSeek is the new open source AI model from China that's making everybody lose their minds. People are going crazy because they supposedly built this thing for just $6 million, while other companies like OpenAI and Claude are spending way more. For context, even GPT-4's technical creation costs were estimated between $41.7 and $78 million. And that's before adding staff, salaries and other expenses. But hold up, let's do a reality check here. That $6 million figure everyone's throwing around, that's for one training run using 2048 H800 GPUs. Building an AI model isn't like following a recipe once, you need multiple training runs and tons of experience and significant hardware investment. The real cost is definitely higher, even if it might still be more efficient than competitors. And we haven't even talked about the cost of the data collection and the staff yet. Now, what is actually revolutionary about DeepSeek isn't the cost, it's the approach. So while Silicon Valley has been obsessed with this idea that you just need to throw infinite data and computing power at the AI to make it smarter, these folks looked at it differently. They're using something called a mixture of experts architecture. So basically, instead of using the whole model for every task, it only activates the parts that it actually needs. Think of it like your PC. It's not always using all the resources, right? So your CPU isn't always at 100% usage and your RAM isn't always completely full and used. It's always just using the resources it needs. That way your PC is efficient and not really, you can run multiple apps at once. And this ties into how they train it. So most AI models need these massive and expensive datasets with human labeling. Think thousands of people clicking buttons saying, yes, this is a cat, and yes, this is a dog. No, this is not a dog. Yes, this is a cat. Well, DeepSeek, they were like, nah, we'll just let the AI train itself. It can do it itself. This is called self-reinforced learning approach, where the AI figures things out through trial and error. Kind of like how we learn to ride a bike. You don't read a manual, you just try, fall, get up, try again, fall, get up, and eventually you can ride a bike. But let's talk about how good it actually is, because there's a lot of hype going around. Everyone's going crazy about how it can develop snake games and run them in the browser with one click. It's amazing, revolutionary and groundbreaking, right? Well, not exactly. Let me show you something interesting. I am a Claude user and I thought to myself, okay, well, Claude can do all this, right? So I used one simple prompt, which was something like, hey Claude, create me a snake game and make it runnable in the browser. And here's what it did. It just, boom, instantly understood the assignment, executed perfectly, and I could run a code. So nothing new. There's no reasoning needed for that, no long thinking process, just straight to the point. Now let's try DeepSeek, the revolutionary model. First with the normal model. I needed a couple attempts to even get a response from it. The server seems to be so overloaded that I can't even get a proper response. And after a couple tries, I got my first response, which was a Python script, which may be working. I don't know, I didn't try it, but it wasn't runnable in the browser, right? So that didn't go well. Next thing, I tried the revolutionary and super intelligent reasoning model. And yes, it did better. It took quite a while to load, which is how reasoning models work. And I've got a result, and I could run it in a browser, it worked fine. There was some bug with like when the game started, it kept alerting me, so I couldn't use it. But after a time, I figured it out and it worked well, right? Like, what would you expect? That's just a simple snake game. Also, don't forget about how this model is by China and also therefore hosted in China. And they might collect some of your inputs in your data. Everything you upload to DeepSeek is collected by them, as well as the model is strongly censored. So you cannot really ask them about critical things that are happening in China and going on in China, as well as some worldviews might be different. So keep that in mind. So what's the real story here? What's my point? DeepSeek really isn't that revolutionary because it can make snake games. Like Claude can do it, ChatGPT can do it. It's not that big of a deal. And also it's probably not that cheap as they claim it to be. But what actually is interesting about it is it's still cheaper by a lot. And trying to find ways how to make the AI more efficient, more cheaper and more accessible to more devices. We don't need those crazy expensive NVIDIA chips anymore. We can run it on simple Macs that everybody can afford, right? And it's revolutionary because it's showing that there might be smarter ways to build AI than just throwing more computing power at it. It's like someone looked at everyone building bigger and bigger rocks to get to space and said, hey, what if we just make a rocket instead? This could actually change how we build AI moving forward. Yes, I'm a bit sad because most of my portfolio consists of NVIDIA. And if we find more efficient ways, we don't need those crazy NVIDIA chips anymore and my stocks will drop even further. But that's a different story. So we might see more focus on clever and more efficient architectures and efficient training methods rather than just who has the biggest GPU farm, who has the newest, most powerful chips, who can bring up the most money to make the smartest AI. Plus, being open source may become the new standard, right? Developers can learn from it, developers can see the code to understand how it works and also maybe improve it. Just don't expect it to be the death of big tech or the end of expensive AI models. It's more like a wake-up call that maybe we need to work smarter, not harder. And hey, maybe that's exactly what the industry needs. So thanks y'all. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole topic. Have you even tried DeepSeek? How is your experience? Are you going to cancel your subscriptions for ChatGPT or Claude and completely go to DeepSeek? Well, thanks and see you in the next one.